Okay, guys, you're listening to the Coffee and Ketchup WrapUp podcast. I'm Linsay Rousseau. Along with me here today is Andy Strong. He is the head of our talent development here with Coffee and Ketchup. We meet every Friday from 8:30 to 10 a.m. at PianoFight in San Francisco. PianoFight is a full-service restaurant and bar with a cabaret stage, 2 intimate theaters where they present new work by new artists, plays, sketch comedy, improv, live bands. There's no drink minimums, no ticket fees, no bullshit. Check them out at pianofight.com. And because this is Coffee and Ketchup, our coffee is provided by Bedfellows Roasting Company. Those guys ship coffee across the country. Check them out at bedfellowsroasting.com. I know I have multiple cups every time I'm here. Okay,
it's quite delicious.
I know, right? It's totally good. All right, so today I am talking with Andy Strong. Like I said, he's the head of our talent development, and the focus of this week's podcast was Hocus Focus, a title that Andy came up with. So Andy is a working actor, writer, director, and producer, and of course, musician living in San Francisco. He strives to further develop the craft of the dedicated group of artists in Coffee and Ketchup through discussion, exercise, and collaboration. He graduated from the North Carolina School of the Arts with a BFA in drama back in 2006. And today, Andy led us through some really good exercises to help us with our focus. So Andy, tell us a little bit about your method and what we went through today.
The purpose of the warm-ups is to bring yourself into your own body, or putting yourself right now. It can be surprisingly difficult as we moved through the exercises, and it was like, oh, everybody feels really present. And then we did a little presentational exercise. The energy in the room completely shifted. The warm-up is a tool to put yourself kind of in the moment, but it's a kind of constant maintenance. I'm thinking of this I think it's like a kung fu metaphor or something. I'm not exactly sure, but they're like, what does it take to be in like fighting stance or like fighting mood or something? And at the beginning of it, it's like hours of preparation to throw one punch, and then you work to sort of exchange that time until it's a simple breath and you're ready to take on the world. It's definitely a compressed way of putting yourself into your current space, your current kind of state of mind, and also bringing the group energy into the same space. It's really effective for that. A lot of people do it before a show or something like that, and then that group energy or that sort of hive mind starts to develop and perpetuate itself.
One of the things I know that Coffee and Ketchup is about is collaboration and learning to work with other actors and supporting each other. And your warm-ups are very much focused on that. And then the exercise that you had us do was very much a single-focused, simple task.
Sure.
But, several of the people mentioned how difficult it was to getting yourself to a place where that task becomes, like you said with the Kung Fu, instantaneous, a single breath, and then transitioning that into even bigger tasks.
Sure.
So as far as the skills that you had us doing during the warm-up and everything, and then how you chose this one exercise for us to do.
Truth be told, I had a completely different exercise. I was preparing. I went through several sort of vague lesson plans throughout the week looking for something to do. And I was trying to find the simplest possible thing. What's the step before the step, before the step, before the step, before the step that you are taking to even really start the conversation with acting, and especially because this is a new group of people that have never really worked together before. I think it's important to start with just the most basic sort of understanding of what it means to act, and before you jump in the deep end with, oh, what's your super objective or what's your spine for this character, it's like, well, what's before that? What happens before that? What happens before you can understand that? What happens before that? And I was thinking back to some exercises that I did in school, and a lot of public solitude. We did a public solitude exercise. Really interesting to see people's take on that, and also just so much of in an acting class sort of environment has to do with your comfortability with the other people that you're in the room with. You're breathing the same air. You're feeling each other out. You don't want to put all your cards on the table, but that's what you have to do as an actor. That's what we're requested to do in something as simple as a commercial or an industrial audition that's going to be seen by maybe a handful of executives. The end product. So the original kind of thing with Hocus Focus was, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll lead. Yeah, what do you want to talk about? I want to talk about focus. And I started thinking about like my experiences with focus, and I wanted to tell this story, and it was one of the very first acting teachers that I had. His name was Leonid Borisovich Mazur. He's a Russian dude, very intimidating, tall guy, he's well built, he's got this beard. Everything about this man is so powerful. I was thinking about my first day of high school. It was my freshman year. I was like 14 years old. And he walks in super late to class, my first period. We hear this like clicks coming down the hall. And he walks in the room, and everybody's just like, he takes the air out of the room. And he sits down at his desk. He doesn't acknowledge any of us. And he sits down, he writes, he shuffles through his papers. And then he finally like looks up and he goes, oh, you. To this classroom of like 14, 15 kids. It was a small class. And he stands up behind his desk. He goes, my name is Leonid Mazur. I am sent here by KGB to help destroy the American education system. If you would help in this, I very much appreciate. And he sits back down and like continues to do the work that he needs. And I was like, everyone was like stunned, like, oh, that's not what's ever happened in a classroom before. I've never had a KGB. I've never had a KGB teacher. Like, what's going on? Is he serious? I think he's making a joke, but I don't think I'm allowed to laugh at it. Like, what is happening? And that moment like stands out to me. Like, I can remember these like just really, really specific moments of it, because it was just really strange, and it was unlike any other teaching thing that I had experienced. He had no business being a high school teacher. In Russia, he directed this show called Joker's Wild, which is the equivalent of Saturday Night Live. So if you can imagine like Lorne Michaels going and like teaching intro to acting and film and video to like people in like Mexico. He's just like an incredible informed teacher. Not to say he had no business. He was just like so far above our heads. I mean that in a really positive way. I want to make sure that I'm saying that. But the thing that he imparted on me, he would just say, focus, sir. Excuse me, sir, I need you to focus. I was like, okay. And then I'd go and I'd suck at acting. And then he'd be like, I want you to focus, sir. And I was like, I have no idea what that means. You know, I'm 14 years old, 15, 16, taught me all 4 years. And so I kept coming back to that as like just something that's important. It's been, you know, this lesson that I've, you know, I'm still trying to wrap my head around, like, what does it mean to focus? And today we're working with our senses. Like the simplest thing that we could do is like, you can see something, you know how to see something, and you know how to use your eyes. And what is it like to register that whenever you're actually seeing something? How is that different from hearing? There's really simple exercises, you know, and this is like the beginnings of focus. First, you have to know what the hell focus is. You know, it's paying attention, right? It's just paying attention. You have to heighten that awareness whenever you're on stage or you're on screen or whatever. There's a lot of stuff going on that you're probably not supposed to pay attention to, like the camera that's 3 feet away from your face, or the catering guy that just showed up, and the food that smells delicious, and you're supposed to be like a hungry war vet. I don't know, you could be like a tech guy swiping his phone, as we so often are here in San Francisco. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, the ability to pay attention to one thing at a time kind of has its merits, and to know what that feels like. So that was kind of my thinking whenever, if I have the floor, what do I really want to share with people? I think people got stuff out of it. You know?
Yeah, there seemed to be a really big positive reaction and a lot of different diverse responses to the exercises. One of the themes that really cropped up during this exercise was that of choices. Just real briefly, talk about how important choices are as an actor, you know, doing something like a silly industrial where we have to just swipe through a phone, or, you know, a big theatrical film shoot.
Well, sometimes a choice can be to just do the thing, especially in the industrials, or in the simplest thing, it's just do the thing. Sometimes making a big, bold choice is super appropriate, and it can take you a long way. And sometimes the big, bold choice that you need to make is just keeping it super simple, you know? There were such varied responses. We did an exercise at the end where the only rules were, there were 4 brooms. You pick a broom, you sweep for what you feel like is 30 seconds. You have one line. Your line is, now that's what I call clean. And then you put the broom back. There's so many different interpretations of that. There was no established right way to do it or wrong way to do it. Everybody made different choices. I think a lot of that was fueled by the fact that there were so many choices, like, oh, how can I do this? It's such an open-ended sort of task. And I don't know that anyone just made the choice to just sweep the floor, which is also a choice that you can make, to just do the absolute most simple thing. But sometimes that is the most difficult thing to do. And it's like, well, how do you even ask somebody to do that without like crushing them? It's something I'm still trying to wrap my head around and learning. It's cool to lead these, the warm-ups and the exercises. I hope to do more of them and hone in on what the sort of community that we have going wants to do more of, in any way that myself or some of the other teaching artists can provide an avenue to at least something to think about. I think people left here with something to think about, and something to register.
Absolutely.
So that was kind of the end goal, is like, just pay attention to what paying attention feels like.
Right, totally. Right. And I know you mentioned you're looking to start an acting class soon. We'll keep people up to date with how that goes. Yeah, you are also part of the PianoFight crew. Just talk real quickly about what PianoFight is, what it is they offer. I know they're one of the sponsors of Coffee and Ketchup.
Yeah. PianoFight started in 2007. As a group of 3 dudes wanting to produce a single play. They accidentally or haphazardly got thrown the keys to the theater that they were going to be producing their show in. It was just sort of a timing thing. Through this one thing, they ended up getting the keys to 2 black box theaters and a rehearsal space, and just started producing the hell out of theater together. And brought 2 sketch comedy groups under their wing. I think at the height of the off-market days, we're producing 250 shows a year, or different shows. I don't know exactly. It's just like a number that was like, whoa. Like, that's why we were always at the theater. It's like, there's just so much going on. There's just so much going on. So there's this real familial aspect of PianoFight that grew out of that. And I just sort of hung around until they forgot I wasn't their friend. I was like, I met Rob Reddy at this deal for BOA, Bay Area 1X, and I was like, that's the guy. He didn't seem like a theater dude. He was just like, whatever, I'm doing this play. I got this thing called PianoFight. I got this bottle of whiskey. Whatever, if you want some. Like, it doesn't sound like that at all. That's the worst Rob Reddy. But he was just like so nonchalant about it and very no bullshit. I was instantly attracted to that, and the fact that he had a bottle of Jameson. And then I found out more about PianoFight. It was like a dozen people at that point, small. And I was in a bunch of different plays that weren't PianoFight affiliated. And I found out where they went to drink afterwards. And I would just like kind of wait for them in like super creepy sort of way.
But that's how so much of acting gets done is, show up at bars and gyms and parties.
Anyway, fast forward to 5 years later now for me, and 8 years later for PianoFight. And now we have the 2 black box theaters and a bar. And that was kind of born out of Rob would hear people would inherently beg to like get $5 tickets. I don't have any money for a play. And then they'd go like buy people rounds at the bar after the show. It's just a matter of what people value, what people are willing to pay money for. My other buddy Noah, who went to school with, he's always saying like, put the bar on the stage, put the bar on the stage. You want to make money with theater, put the bar on the stage. It's about as close as we can do. So at PianoFight, we got a 92 seat theater, a 40 seat theater. We have a full restaurant and bar. With 78 seats that has a cabaret stage as well.
And there's also rehearsal rooms.
3 rehearsal studios, an AV suite, and a little lounge area downstairs. And we produce the hell out of some theater over here. We have live streaming capabilities here, and we're working on developing those further and starting to do live tapings of shows and edit those together. And it's a slow process. It took us 4 years to build out this space. It was a burnt-out restaurant prior. It was the original Joe's.
Sweet. All right. So you've been listening to the Coffee and Ketchup wrap-up. You can check us out at coffeeandketchup.com. PianoFight, again, is our sponsor, pianofight.com. Andy, thank you so much for being here with us.
And
we'll see you next week at PianoFight from 8:30 to 10 o'clock. Thanks.
All right, cool. Thank you.